Hello everyone, hope you're doing good. Let me check my mic and everything's working properly. Fantastic. So as usual today we'll start with the Forex pairs, then indices, and then crypto. If you have any questions, feel free to post it in the comment section. I'll keep an eye on it after doing every couple of pairs. And if you have any questions like in general or like a specific request that you would like me to analyze a specific instrument, asset, stock, pair, whatever you want, I would be happy to do it. So let me share my screen real quick. And today we will be doing the draw, which you all have heard of previously for those who watched. Let me give me a minute to share my screen. Okay, I guess now you can see this tab, but I don't want to share a tab. I want to share an entire browser. Let me try it out. Okay, entire window, fantastic. This is it. Okay, so like now you can see all the tabs. As mentioned previously, today we are going to do the draw. So for today, I can see in the comments that Kilowa applied, but like I haven't seen any comments. That's why like we postponed it till today, because like, I don't know why like it's not appearing in the comments. So for those who would like to participate in the draw, simply write your name in the comment section now, and I will add your names here. If no one applied, then Kilowa will definitely win. As mentioned, we'll start with the Forex pairs, indices, and then we'll go over the crypto instruments. Check the comments. Okay, so Tony Lee asked what's the best pair to do. We'll start with, as mentioned previously, here's my watch list. You can see it. We start with the DXY to feed the overall market, right? Because it's the USD index, and like usually, like you can get a feeling about the overall market from USD index, because like not only it moves the USD pairs, but also the euro currency by itself, GBP, and so on. That's why it's very important to start with the DXY when you are going over like the Forex pairs. And as you can see here, I also like start with the total market cap when it comes to crypto. Okay, WAF, I don't really what this means. Please let me know. BTC, of course, we'll go over Bitcoin. It's the second one after total when it comes to crypto. Of course, we'll do it. So that's basically it. I'll announce the draw like maybe after 10 or 15 minutes when more members join, and we'll do it at the end of the session. Okay, so he asked what broker would you recommend strongly for starters, like no matter if you are like beginner or advanced, or like no matter which level you are, the broker is the same. So of course, like do your own research. Like I personally use a broker named Tickmill, Tickmill. Okay, but of course, like you can do your own research and so on. Trading Forex, yeah. Have you heard of smart money concepts? Yes, you can, and you can already see that on Trading Nut channel. Like you've got a dedicated session for it, so you can check it out. Okay, oh, fantastic, Daniel. I'll copy your name. Kidoa, cheers, mate. Hope you're doing good. So I'll add Daniel to the list for the draw. Where is the list? Here we go. Okay. Anyway, I'll like check it out later on. I'll like let you know about it for newcomers. Okay. I don't know what NAS means. Okay. So please let me know what this means. Okay. Let's do it. Let's start with the Forex pairs. I'll do like a couple of ones and then I'll check the comments once again. So we start with the DXY, as we already know, to feed the overall market, and you can clearly see that price has been rejecting this resistance area, has been acting as a resistance multiple times, multiple rejections from it, and price is currently around it. I like the fact that we can see this wick here, and because from weekly time frame, you can see that we've got a bullish candle, and lately we've got this wick, but it didn't like quite break fully this area, because like as per my trading plan, I always wait for 2 big bullish candles to break a resistance to confirm that it's broken, which didn't happen. And if you zoom out, you can see that for now, of course, like after like 4 days, this month will end, and like most probably we'll see this wick, which is quite good. Price is rejecting this area, and in this case, the next support would be around here, right? We've got many rejections from it. We can see it better from weekly time frame. As mentioned last week, for those who watched it, we have been in a range just like here, and here we go, right? So we are trading inside this range. Of course, it's a big one from monthly time frame. So here's our upper bound, rejecting it downward, lower bound, rejecting it upward. So that's basically it for the XY. If we zoom in, we can see it even. We can see it even better. Okay, give me a second. Okay. Oops. Okay, this is it. So as mentioned, weekly we rejected the upper bound, we traded lower, and from daily time frame, here we go. We broke below this previous major low, right? So we are currently overall bearish from daily time frame, and we are expecting a correction maybe, and then a movement downward, or we can see a movement down from here. So it would be our impulse, and we are currently bearish. As mentioned, this is our next rejection zone, which might hold the price up when price approaches it. It's also a demand zone, and so on. Okay, so don't really have much to add. This is basically it. So now we know that we are bearish on the XY, on like we are expecting weakness on the USD currency or USD index, and every bullish movement now would be simply a correction before the next bearish movement starts. So that's our first impulse. If it's broken upward, then the correction would start, and we'll be looking for sell setups to catch the next impulse movement downward. Of course, as mentioned, we can still break below this low, just like previously. Break below it. In this case, we would be inside this big impulse movement, pushing price lower and lower. Now, as usual, the second one is EURUSD, which is highly negatively correlated with the XY. As we clearly see from weekly time frame, we are bearish, while from the XY on weekly time frame we are bullish around the resistance, while on EURUSD we are around a support. Right, so the exact opposite. And we saw last week that we rejected our support area. We can see it better from weekly time frame. Here we go. So we rejected it upward. Now, on the retest of this area, we'll be looking for buy setups. And just like the XY, it's approaching a support. EURUSD is approaching a resistance. If you zoom in a little bit, you can see that it's also a supply zone, as we had an aggressive movement down from it. But we are currently bullish after breaking above this high. So we have our impulse. Now, if we dive lower, would be a correction, and we'll be looking for the next impulse movement up. We'll be looking for buy setups. So I'm currently waiting for EURUSD to dive inside this area again to look for buy setups, or to approach this resistance and supply zone from daily to look for sell setups. Okay, so that's basically it. This is what I'm looking for on EURUSD, and the exact same trend line or like movement we saw on the XY, and of course the opposite way. We are currently overall bullish. We can still trade a little bit higher, which is where I mentioned I'd be looking for sell setups. For now, even though we can break below this area, I personally wouldn't be looking for sell for now. I'm looking for sell here, or if price dives in, if we break below this area, then the correction would start, and I'd be looking for buy setups around this support area. Okay, let me check the comments real quick before I jump to the next two ones. Okay, Kick, some trade setups last season entry triggered. Okay, fantastic. Kick party. Rishab, Euro GBP. Okay, I'll add it to my list, of course. And yeah, I'm hello Malik. I'm not really sure if like if like he means that his name is Nas, but I'm not really sure about it. Okay, let's continue. Our next one would be, as per our list, is here we go. Let me make it lower. Here we go. So our next one is NZDUSD, which is also a USD pair. We'll go over also USD JPY. Let me add Euro GBP. Okay, even though I have GBP CHF, but like let me add anyway GBP Euro GBP since since you want me to do it. So here we go. Okay, so like these, and you can see that these two like are negatively correlated. For example, you can see USD CHF going lower, Euro USD going higher. Exact same thing. If Euro GBP is going higher, GBP CHF would be going lower, and vice versa. Anyway, we'll do both really quick. On NZD USD, as mentioned, if we zoom out to weekly time frame, we can see that we previously rejected this support area. We traded higher. We are currently approaching this resistance area. We can see it better from daily time frame, and it's also our last low broken downward. If you zoom out a little bit, we can see it even better. We've got many rejections from it, broken downward, so it's now acting as a resistance. And if you zoom in a little bit, we can see that we also got, as mentioned, this previous low broken downward, and we also got the supply zone as we had an aggressive movement down from it. That's why we are looking for sell setups around this area as a trend following sell setup. Of course, unless it's broken upward, then it will become a support, and we'll be looking for buy setups on the retest. But for now, let's take it step by step. We are overall bearish. Impulse, small correction, impulse, small correction, impulse, a bigger correction, but we are still bearish. We are looking for a trend following sell setup. If you zoom into H4, I can't really add much except that the boost took over here. We are currently overall bullish, making higher highs and higher lows, right? So, like, and you can even see it clearly from H4. I don't need to zoom into lower time frames, but this is our last low now. For the bears to take over, to start the impulse movement lower, we need a break below this low. If you zoom into H1, we can see it even better. So we are now bullish after breaking above this high. You could have entered a buy here. We traded higher. Now we are following the same logic. Okay, just like previously, above the previous high, we traded higher, waiting for this low to trade lower. Okay, so this is what I'm waiting for a break below this low. We might trade a little bit higher, right? In this case, might form a new low. In this case, this would be our last low, but we can't really know for now what might happen, or we might drop lower, form a new low before breaking it downward. But for now, this is our last low that I'm waiting for a break below it. If we have the break, then the stop loss would be just above the previous swing high. For now, it's here. Let's see, like maybe we'll have a new swing high, right? It would be here in this case. So let's see how it goes. But for now, it's here, and we target a 1 to 2 risk to reward ratio to have an edge over the market from a risk management perspective. So that's basically it. And like for those who know me, I always like do this and go for this call out and highlight it as my trigger. Okay, so this is basically it on NZD/USD. Meanwhile, we would be bullish. We can still like stuck inside this range here before breaking it downward, or a little bit higher before going downward, or even break the resistance for it to become a support. In this case, we'll no longer be looking for a sell. Instead, we'll be looking for a trend following buy setup. Okay, that's it for NZD/USD. If we go to USD/JPY, we can see that from weekly time frame, we had an aggressive movement upward, right? And we are currently in this correction phase. We are still overall bullish, of course, from a higher time frame, from a long-term perspective. If we zoom out, we can see that this has been a very strong resistance area, now broken upward. So it's now acting as a support area. And you can see it even better from monthly time frame. Look at how strong this area was. All right, many rejections from it, broken upward, now retesting it. That's why we are looking for trend following buy setups. Okay, and of course, as price approaches this area, just like before, we are looking for sell setups. Now, if you zoom into daily time frame, we can see that we've got this low here, which is our last low. So for the bears to take over, we need an aggressive break below it, but we already got a support here. Okay, so we need a break below it and below the support to finally say that now we have a shift in momentum from bullish to bearish. Okay, but for now, even if you have this break, it might be a fake out because we've got a very strong support, which is a monthly support, right? Which is a very, very strong area. So even if you have a break here, we might still reject this area and trade higher. Okay, so that's how you start from the higher time frames to see the big picture before zooming in. So not every low broken downward is a shift in momentum. Not every high broken upward is the bulls taking over. Okay, it might just signal a correction. Of course, we can't really know. We might still have this. In this case, of course, we would have a shift in momentum, and we'll start to look for sell setups on the retest like this, for example. Resistance, 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 and so on. So for now, we are bullish, looking for buy setups. If you zoom into H4, just like we saw on NZD/USD, the bears took over here. Now for the bulls to take over, we need to see a break above the previous high, which is basically, this is our last major one. We have a minor one here, but this is the last major one. If you zoom in lower, for example, to sorry, for example, to H1, we can see that we've got a big wedge pattern. Here's our impulse, right? Correction. We're currently in this impulse phase, waiting for this to happen, and then we can enter our buy. Okay, so for now, as mentioned, from H4, this is our last major high. That for the bulls to take over, we need a break above this area. So this is what I'm waiting for. For example, maybe a new swing to form here or here. No matter where, I'm looking for buy stops or to buy if we break above this area. So we might see this before we break above it. Of course, just like NZD/USD or the opposite, when the buy is activated, the stop loss would be, I don't know where it would be, but like let's say here, and we target a 1 to 2 reward ratio, which would be around the upper resistance here, where as price approaches this area, we'll be looking for sell setup. Meanwhile, and until this happens, until the buyers take over and break above this area, we would be bearish, and we can still trade lower and lower, right, and dive inside the support before we finally break above this this reversal pattern, which is a falling wedge pattern. Okay, let me check the comments real quick. Okay, Farah, US 30, please. Of course, we will do it when we go over indices. Cheers. Okay, let's do it. Next, for our Forex list, we've got CHF/JPY. If you zoom out to weekly time frame, you can see that previously we rejected this supply zone. As we can see, an aggressive movement downward from it, from here and from here. That's definitely a very strong supply zone. As price approaches it again, we'll be looking for sell setups. However, we are bullish from a medium-term perspective. Of course, as you can see, higher highs and higher lows. So a high is broken, price retested, traded higher. High is broken, price retested, traded higher, broken, retested, traded higher, and now this is our last high. Okay, retested, traded higher. So like that, and this is how clean CHF/JPY has been. And we can see that from daily time frame, we are overall bullish inside this channel and so on. We previously broke below this previous low, right, which is technically our last major low. We broke below it. We are currently bearish from daily time frame. Impulse currently in this correction and waiting for the bears to take over to catch the next impulse movement downward, and maybe next we'll reject this area one more time, and then we'll be looking for sell setups here. Okay, so I'm looking for sell here, then we're looking for buy, then we'll be looking for sell, and so on until eventually, of course, the channel is broken. Of course, like we might break it here, okay, but like I'm just like showing you what I'll be looking at for. In this case, if we break below it on the retest, we can also of this like area, we're looking for sell setups, and then maybe we can draw a channel here, then we'll be looking for sell setups here, and then we'll be looking for buy stops here, and so on, right? So like this is why it's important to start from higher time frames to know where you currently are in the market. So from daily time frame, we are bearish, and we broke below this low. Now we're retesting it. That's why we are looking for sell setups, knowing that we can still trade higher to test this area, which is also a supply here, before we trade lower. Okay, so we know that we might still trade higher, but we are looking. If the bears take over here, then we are going to sell. If you zoom into H4, I don't really need to zoom into lower time frames, but we'll do anyway. We can see that we've got this low here. So high lows, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs. We are currently in this correction. It started after a break above this high. So we are bullish, waiting for the bears to take over by breaking below this low. We can see it even better from lower from lower time frame, from H1. I'll be waiting for a break below this area, below the trend line and below the last swing low, which we saw also from H4, for the bears to take over. In this case, the stop loss would be here, right above the previous high, and we target a 1 to 2 risk to reward ratio. Meanwhile, and until this happens, until we see this, which would be our trigger, CHF JPY can still trade higher and make higher highs and higher lows to test this area before going lower. In this case, if this happens, then we'll be looking for sell setups, just like we always do. Wait for the bears to take over while breaking below the low, and then we can sell. Okay, so that's basically it. Let's check the comments. Okay, we have a nice comment here. How come no retail trader has a clean idea of where price is going? Because they don't know. Right. Exactly, man. We don't know where the price might go next. We don't predict, we react. Right. So wait for the price or the market to make the first move and then react accordingly. Okay, we don't just predict that price is going up from here. We can't really know. Okay. Okay, fantastic. Now we've got EuroCAD. If you go to weekly time frame, you can see that price broke below this support area. It's currently retesting it. So we are still bearish, just like previously, an impulse, a correction, impulse, correction, impulse. We are currently in a correction phase. We might have an overextended one, so we might have a deep correction, which is like this trend line is showing us the overall flow, right? So like every time we go this low, we make a this correction, this low correction, this low. So we might have this correction. In this case, we'll be looking for sell setups here, but we're looking for sell setups anyway, starting from now, because we also got this previous high, this resistance, and so on. But while looking, we don't sell blindly. We always wait for a market to make the first move, and then we react accordingly. So we've got, as you can see from daily, it's also very clean here. We've got our lower lows, lower highs, right? And now we are stuck inside this range, rejecting this resistance multiple times, right? So now we are stuck inside like this range, and this is our ceiling, if you want to call it. This would be our floor. Anyway, price is now here. We'll be looking, we don't sell blindly, we'll be looking for sell setups unless we have a breakup of it. Then, as mentioned from weekly, we would have an overextended correction and we'll be looking for sell setups around this area. Okay, so this is it. That's why we are looking for sell setups, and just like from H1, and it's better from M30 if you would like. We can see it very in a very clean manner. We previously were bearish, broke above the previous high, traded higher, below the previous low, traded lower, over the previous high, traded higher, below the previous low, traded lower, over the previous high, traded higher, and now we are following the same logic, waiting for the previous low to be broken downward to look for sell, because we are around a resistance area. Okay, we don't sell blindly. We wait for the market to make the first move and then react accordingly. So this is what I'm looking for. And yeah, that's it. If this happens, if we have this break, right, the stop loss will be as usual above the previous swing high, and we target a 1 to 2 risk to reward ratio to have an edge over the market, because this way, right, even with a 50% win rate, you are still making money. So if you enter 10 trades, you win 5, you lose 5. When you win 5, you are gaining 10% because you are targeting 2%. For example, if you enter with 1% risk per trade and your stop is 1%, like you lose 1% for every losing trade, so you lose 5%. So minus 5 plus 10, you still make money. You still make like 5%, even with a 50% win rate only. Okay. Anyway, let's move forward. So now we are done with Forex. Yeah, someone requested Euro GBP, and I also have on my list GBP CHF. So let's do these two real quick before I jump into the indices. Okay, sorry. I sometimes talk fast, so I'll try my best to talk slower. USD CHF, please. I already done your USD, but if you want, I'll take a look at it. Can I make a living trading fix? Okay, I'm not really. You mean Forex, right? Is this a live session or membership course? Take a trade or dip, because I can tell you today is not the greatest price action. Okay, I don't know what this means. Session or membership. Okay, so okay, fine. Okay, so we've got Euro GBP. We see that we are now around a support area. We've got many rejections from it. Has been acting as a resistance previously, broken upward, now acting as a support, and we can see it even better from higher time frame, from weekly. We've got this high here, broken upward. Now price is retesting it, and we're expecting a bullish movement from here. Vice versa, we've got multiple rejections from this area. We've got a resistance, and as you can see, price rejected this area previously. So long story short, we're currently sitting inside this support and resistance, looking for sell here, looking for buy here, until eventually the support is broken downward again, or the resistance is broken upward. In this case, we'll be looking for buy on the retest, and this would be our next resistance area. As we see here, we've got many rejections from it. Okay, so if you zoom into daily time frame, we can't really add much. As mentioned previously, if you go to H4 time frame, we know that we are currently overall bullish, as mentioned from daily, and as price approaches this area, the support, just like what happened previously, we were looking for buy setups, and vice versa. As price retests this resistance area, we will be looking for sell setups. Okay, if we zoom into H1 time frame, I can't really add much for now. Okay, and yeah, I can't really add much except that the bulls took over here. However, as per my trading plan, I don't like to buy in the middle, so I would prefer to see Euro GBP going lower to look for buy setups. Okay, so I always look for setups around the resistance, buy setups around the support. I don't like to trade midway. Vice versa in case of GBP CHF. However, in this case, we can see that price lately broke below the support area. You can see that it has been acting as a very strong support and resistance previously, multiple rejections from it. So we're looking for sell setups here multiple times. Then price broke it upward. It's now acting as what? As a potential support area. Turn to support. We were looking for buy stops here again and again until eventually, of course, it would be broken. In this case, we got the break below this area. So it's broken now. On the retest of it, we'll be looking for sell setups. If you zoom into daily time frame, here's the view. You can see that we are overall bearish. We're looking for sell setups here, buy setups here, and now until eventually, of course, the resistance is broken, it would become support, or the support is broken, it would become a resistance. But now we can see that this support area is broken, now acting as a resistance area. And of course, unless the bulls claim the support back by breaking above this area. In this case, we'll be looking for buy stops again on the retest. But for now, this zone is acting as a resistance. That's why we are looking for sell setups. And yeah, we can see from H1 that we had our impulse, and we are currently in this correction. We might still have this movement before we trade lower, but since we are around a resistance area, we are looking for sell setups. Here's our view from M30, or we can even stick to H1. It depends on your time, risk appetite, and so on. So this is basically it. This is our last low. So we need the bears to break below it for them to take over. In this case, you can enter a sell, your stop loss here, and you target a 1 to 2 risk to reward ratio. Meanwhile, we can still trade higher as mentioned previously, dive inside the resistance before we trade lower, or even break it upward for it to become support, and so on. Okay, I'll do USD CHF before jumping into the indices. Oops, let me zoom out again. Okay, I'll do it real quick before going over indices. So here we go. Okay, on USD CHF, we rejected this resistance area, multiple rejections from it. We rejected it downward. Next, we had our support here, which has been broken downward. Now it's approaching our next support, which has been acting as a support and resistance previously. Price broke it upward, so it's now obviously acting as a support area. But I want the price to dive like inside it before it hit higher, because like it's a big support, and our last rejections were here. Okay, if we zoom in a little bit lower to the daily time frame, we can see that this is our previous major low broken downward. So, and also breaking below this support. So it's now acting as a resistance. As price retested, this resistance will be looking for sell setups. Meanwhile, as price approaches the support, which is also a demand zone here, we'll be looking for buy setups. If you zoom into H4, I can't really add much except that we were bullish. Now we are bearish. If you zoom into H1 time frame, we can see that the price is making low lows and lower highs, right? So until the bulls break above the previous high, which is now here, right, we would be bearish and we can still trade lower and lower, which like as mentioned, I would like to see this, right? I would like to see the bears kicking in, approaching the support, before I look for buy stops. So I don't want to look for buy stops here, or of course, for the bulls to take over, we need to see a break above this area. So I don't want to buy here and we have a resistance. So I would like to see USD trading a little bit lower more, and then I'll be buying on this break upward. Okay, so that's basically it, and yeah. Okay, now let's go for indices. Let me check the comments one more time before I go there. Okay, Chris, I have never won any draw in my life. Could this be one? Hopefully, I'll just add your name to the draw. Okay, where is it? Give me a minute. Okay, so here we've got Chris. Next. Okay, give me a second. Now let's go over indices, and last but not least, we will go over crypto. Let's do it. Okay, on US 500, as mentioned last week, for those who watched the previous one, that we are currently around the 4K, which is a very strong round number. We are currently bearish after breaking below this low. Right, we had an impulse, a classic retest of the previous low broken downward, another impulse movement lower. So now we are bearish and we are speculating a correction from here. However, we might still see an overextended impulse till around our next rejection, which is a demand around 3.7K before we trade higher. But anyway, we always zoom into lower time frames and look for extra confirmation. If you zoom into daily time frame, we can see that we are bearish as mentioned from weekly after breaking below this low, had a classic retest and we traded lower. We are currently around the lower band, right? So if we have this channel impulse correction, impulse, we are speculating a correction, but of course we'll be waiting for the bulls to take over first before we confirm that the correction is about to start. And our previous high for now is, as you can see, around this area. Okay, we can see it even better from H4 time frame. So after breaking below this low from H4, which was what? Which was the retest of the resistance, which is here, right? So impulse correction, looking for sell setups, and we traded lower. So we zoom into lower time frames, to H4, for example, and here we go, broke below this low and this low as well, and we traded lower. So for now, price is making lower highs and lower lows. So we are also still bearish, but for the bull to take over and to start the correction, we need to see a break above this high. All right, which would also mean a break above a daily close, or closing back above the 4K. So the bulls are reclaiming the 4K as a support. Okay, so this is it. This is our big support area. That's a demand, and this is the 4K. So if we have this break, then the bulls would take over, and we can expect a correction till around the upper band, which is around this area. Meanwhile, we can still go up, reject it to form an inverse head and shoulders, right, which would be here. This is it before we break it upward. So I want the bulls to break this, okay? No matter how, no matter what, no matter if it does this for breaking or it breaks it now immediately. I want this high to be broken upward. Meanwhile, we can still reject it and trade lower. Okay, so the exact same thing we see on US 100. If you remember last week, we mentioned that US 100 is trading in like in this shape, right? So if you make an offset for this one as well, okay, so we can see it very clearly. So we've got a range broken downward for the next impulse, a range, which is the correction, impulse, range, impulse, and so on, right? So for now, as you clearly see, we are bearish, lower lows and lower highs, big impulse movement pushing price lower, small correction movements like flat correction movements. For the boost to take over, we need to see a break at least above the previous high. Okay, for now, we didn't have this break yet. This is our last high. And we can see it better from weekly time frame. This is our next rejection zone, which is around 11K, which is also a round number. So a demand zone here, and previously had this impulse, correction, impulse. Now we're looking for a correction, right? We might still reject this area, which has been acting as a support previously. Now broken downward, it's acting as a resistance area. Okay, so we might still trade higher, and if we don't break in an aggressive manner, of course, above this zone, then it would be just a correction before we speculate another impulse movement lower till our next support or demand zone, which would be here. Okay, so if we go to daily time frame, we can see this channel. We were bullish previously, right? Price broke below this low, we traded lower as usual, a classic retest, impulse, classic retest, and we traded lower again. If we trade higher now, it just would be just a correction before we trade lower and dive inside this area. Okay, so this is basically it. Meanwhile, and until the bulls take over by breaking above this to start the correction, we would be bearish and we can still reject this trend line with it. And we can even make an offset for it if you want to see it even in a cleaner manner. Here we go. And this is it, right? So like this channel is now engulfing the overall movement downwards. So we might still see this like multiple times before we finally break above the previous high for the bulls to take over. Okay, for the indices also, as you can see, we've got US 30, and if we zoom out to weekly time frame, we can see that we previously had this support, multiple rejections from it, broken downward, and just like US 500 and US 100, impulse correction, impulse, we are currently in this correction, so we might drop lower from here till our next rejection, which is this previous high, a demand zone, and also the round number 3K, which is a very strong one. Okay, so that's basically it. We are still bearish. Now, when we are bearish, every bullish movement would be simply what? A correction before the next impulse in the direction of the trend push lower, in this case, because we are bearish. So if you go to daily time frame, we can see that this is our last high, as mentioned previously. We also got a very strong support and resistance here, broken downward, now acting as a resistance, upward, support, downward again, a resistance. Okay. So for the bulls to take over from a long-term perspective, we need to see this, rejecting this support resistance, and then breaking back above it. Then this like correction would be an overextended correction of this impulse correction before the next impulse movement start. But let's take it step by step. For now, we are around the lower bound, right? So looking for buy setups, as mentioned last week, and when we trade higher, this might be our next resistance that might hold the price down. Of course, for the bulls to take over, we zoom in, and this is our channel also, just like US 100 and US 500, waiting for the bulls to take over by breaking above this area. Meanwhile, we can still reject it downward, trade lower, maybe to form a inverse head and shoulders, or even trade even lower till the next rejection zone. Okay, so like last but not least, we have an index bank Nifty. So if you go to weekly time frame, this is it. A very strong support area. We are bearish, just like US 500. Impulse correction. We are currently in this impulse, looking for buy stops here around the lower bound. Of course, for the bulls to take over from a long-term perspective, we need to see this, right? In this case, it would be a big impulse, a correction before the next impulse movement starts. And look at how strong the supply and resistance is. Many rejections from it, broken upward, now acting as support again. Okay. So now if you zoom into daily time frame, I can't really add much as mentioned last week for H4 or for H1. Here we go. So we had our previous high last week here, and as mentioned, for the bulls to take over, we need to see a break above the high. Meanwhile, we would be bearish and we can still trade lower before trading higher. So like now the bulls took over, and now we're expecting a bullish movement. And it would be what? A correction movement, right? Because if you zoom out, if we go to weekly time frame, this is just a correction, and the bears might still kick in and push this one lower. So yes, this is basically it. If this happens, we'll be looking for sell setups here. If we go lower, we'll be looking for buy stops here, until eventually this channel is broken. Then the bulls will take over from a long-term perspective. Okay, fantastic. Rahman, I'm happy that you are enjoying the session. You're more than welcome, Farah. So let's continue. Okay, so like before we continue, we already done Forex, right? So we've done like the indices. And like for those who don't know about, we have a draw today, okay? And like I will select one winner, and like if you would like to apply, simply write your name in the comment section, and I will add you to this draw. At the end of the session, okay, I'll go down there and I'll select one, I'll select one winner. Okay. Okay, where we are. We were here, yeah. Okay, World Forex Community, AUDJPY, like we already went over Forex. So if you would like at the end of the session, if you have some time, I'll go over it, okay? Because like already done Forex indices, and now we are going, we'll start to go over the crypto ones. So let's do it. Let's check. Here we go. Okay, I always start with total to feel the overall market, which makes sense because it's the total market cap, including Bitcoin, the altcoins, and like everything affecting the crypto market. So on total, we can see that just like also US 500 in this case, we are bearish. We've got our impulse, correction, and impulse again. So for the boost to take over, we need to see this happening. We need to see a breakup of this channel to finally say that we are now like we have a shift in momentum from bearish to bullish. But as long as we are trading inside this channel, we are making lower highs and low lows. Every bullish movement would be simply a correction. Every bullish movement would be a correction until eventually the buyers take over. Now, as mentioned last week, we've got a strong demand zone here. Unless broken downward, then our next demand or rejection area would be around here, because like this is the only place where this is the only area, or like a place if you want. We saw red candles inside this big movement. Right, of course, we got some here, which is around 500 billion. So it's also a rejection. Here's also a demand zone, which is also around 1 trillion round number. Okay, so that's basically it. The bears are taking over. They are pushing and are trying to break below this area. As mentioned last week, we might still fill this week or 50% of it before we trade higher. So the bulls can still kick in, of course, to start the correction only. Okay, So if you zoom into daily time frame, we can't really add much. We know that the bears took over. We are now trading low, and we're stuck inside this consolidation this entire week or the last 2 weeks. If you zoom into H4, we can see it even better. This is our consolidation, and like as you can see, the bears are trying to break below it. So if we see a full candle, which will also result in a big candle from daily time frame closing below these areas, then it wouldn't be good. It would signal that the bears are still very aggressive, and the movement lower would be expected. So let's see if the bulls will kick in now to trade higher and break above this area. Are inside a range, and we are simply now trying to break. We didn't break yet, okay, because it's now resulting in a wick. So let's see if the bulls can kick in and trade higher, or it will result in a full candle. In this case, the bears will remain in control for another impulse movement lower. Of course, for the bulls to take over from from a medium-term perspective, this is for now our last major high. So we need a break above this high to finally say that the correction has started. For now, we might still trade higher and then trade lower all the way to the next rejection, or we might trade higher a little bit, form a new swing, but resulting in a higher low before breaking it upward, and then the bullish correction, okay, that would start. Okay, so this is it. If you want from weekly time frame, it's very clean. We've got two possible scenarios. The first one is if you have a correction from here, then we might drop even lower before finally trading higher, or we might go lower, make a new correction from here till around this supply and resistance and demand, and then resulting in a higher low, right? And then we break above it for the bullish trend to start. But of course, let's take it step by step. Let's see how it goes. We can see the exact same, exact opposite scenario on USDT. We can see that we are overall bullish. We rejected the upper bound previously with a big wick, and as mentioned many times, we can still trade a little bit higher to fill back half of the wick or even a little bit more before we trade lower, right? So as you can see here, we got this wick, price went up, filled it, and even traded higher, then resulted in a bigger wick. Then price went up, filled entirely or even more than half before trading lower. Here's also one example. We got a wick here, right? As you can see, price trade a little bit higher to fill a little bit of it before trading lower. So now we might see a very similar scenario, and even though this wick is very big, so we might still see a big movement like this before we trade lower. So anyway, we don't predict. We zoom into lower time frames for extra confirmation. If you zoom into daily, now we can see that this zone, which is in green around 5%, is already broken upward, has been acting as a resistance previously multiple times, now broken upward, so now it's acting as a support. So now on the retest of it, we'll be speculating a bullish movement from here. Let's take it step by step anyway for now. Now we are around this area for the bears to take over, and now as you can see, price is forming this low. We can even see it better from lower time frame. This is our last major low. Okay, we've got a low here as well, which we saw on daily time frame. Here we go. All right, so we've got this low also, but for the bears to take over, we need to see a break below the previous low, which is also here. Okay, so that's basically it. And knowing that, we can still trade a little bit higher before we trade lower to fill like the previous wick. So that's basically it. Now if you go to Bitcoin, here we go. I can't really add much on monthly. On weekly time frame, we can see that we've got many rejections from this area. We can also see the exact same wick, which is here, right? So now price is trying to fill it, and let's see if the bulls will kick in here to start the correction. To around where? To around the 40K, which is obviously a very strong support and resistance area. Was acting as a resistance previously, resistance again, support here, and now broken downward. So now it's acting as what? As a resistance. So as price approaches it, we'll be speculating this movement. Okay, so now we're around the lower bound, but our impulse, correction, impulse, now are speculating a correction movement. Of course, unless this 30K is broken, then a movement to the 20K would be expected. But like usually in a bearish trend, chances are that you will see this impulse. But let's see if the bulls will take over here to start the impulse. To know if the bulls are going to take over or not, we zoom into lower time frame, and we can see that we are currently stuck inside this range. And we see that the 40K is also a supply zone now, as we had an aggressive movement downward from it. So like this is indeed a very strong area that might hold the price down. It's a resistance from weekly. We have this upper channel, which is like showing us the overall flow. And from daily time frame, we've got this supply zone. Okay, however, as mentioned, we're waiting for the bulls to take over, and we can see a very clear high around here. So for the bulls to take over, we need to see this break. Meanwhile, if we break below the 28K or below this entire area in an aggressive manner, then it wouldn't be good. Of course, like if we see a weekly candle close below this area, then it wouldn't be good at all. We'll see price dropping lower till where? Till the next demand zone. Why it's a demand? Because it's the only place where we have a consolidation and red candles inside this big impulse movement. Okay, so this is indeed a very strong demand zone. Okay, of course, if broken downward, then anyway, let's take it step by step. Okay, now around the support area, support, demand, lower trend line. So it's indeed a very strong area. So the bulls have to we have to see some reactions. So we already saw this reaction, but it's not enough to confirm that the bulls are finally taking over. If you zoom into H4, the exact same scenario we saw on total, right? We have a range. We had a previous range, which is here, and now like now price is stuck in a smaller range, right? So here we go. Now we have this range. So let's see, for the bulls to take over from a short-term perspective, we need to see this, but it would be only an early alert, right? For the bulls to take over from a long-term or like medium-term perspective, of course, because it's a correction. Medium-term perspective, we need to see a break above this high here, okay, which is also a break above, here we go, which is this high. Okay, if this happens, then we can expect this correction. Meanwhile, and as you can see, the bears haven't broke below this area yet. So if and only if we have a daily candle close or an even weekly candle close, it would be even like better or like more confirmed. If we have this big full bearish candle closing below it, then it would confirm that this one is broken, just like, for example, this. Of course, we need it from daily and weekly. For example, let me show you from here we go. So we need a candle like this, right? So this of course confirmed the break below the support, and like we didn't have it, we don't have it yet. So let's see how it goes. Now let me check the comments real quick. Okay. Okay, Shiam, let me add Shiam. Okay, and okay, I'll add you one by one. Shiam, right? Next, we've got, okay, Farah. Okay, Shiam, are you done? Okay, Bashir, hope you're doing good. Okay, let's continue. So if you have any questions, I'll take a little break, have a sip. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. Or like if you want to analyze a specific instrument, also feel free to request it here. Okay, okay, Shahzad. Okay. Okay, I'll go over one instrument and then I'll check the comments again. Next, we've got, here we go. Here's our view from weekly time frame. As mentioned last week, we are currently sitting around a strong demand zone, right? Impulse, correction, and this is our impulse. We can still drop as low as like the 1K before the next impulse correction movement starts, and then here we go. Now the bulls will take over, or we might go upward from here and before dropping lower again, and then the bulls will take over, or we might go upward, make this, and then break above this area. So we are currently trading where? Okay, so this is very important, because it's very important to know where you currently are in the markets. On Bitcoin, for example, you can see that price is respecting the support and resistance in terms of 10K, right? So here's our 30K. Here's our 40K resistance multiple times, support, and so on. Here's our 50K support, resistance, and so on. Okay, so Bitcoin is respecting the support and resistance in terms of 10K, while on Ethereum it's respecting in terms of 500. Okay, so like here's our 2K 500. Here's our 3K. 3.5. Here's our 3K support and resistance multiple times. Our 4K, right? And for 500 and our 1.5. Okay, anyway, you've got the idea, right? So if this area is broken downward, then the next support would be around 1.5. If broken downward, it would be around 1K. So that's basically it for, let me go back. Okay, unless the bulls take over, then a movement till the next resistance, the correction would start. And as you can see here, this is a very strong low broken downward, so it's definitely acting as a resistance area around here. If you zoom into the daily time frame, we can see that unlike Bitcoin, which hasn't break below this area yet, on Ethereum we already have this break. All right, if you check Bitcoin, you can see that we don't really have the break just yet. While on Ethereum, we can see that we're already breaking below it. Let's see how the daily candle will close, because it would be very, very important. The daily and weekly, of course, I always keep an eye on it when it comes to crypto. So, and as mentioned, we might still just fill this wick, right, before we trade higher again. But again and again, for the bulls to take over to start the correction, we need a break above this area. Okay, so until this one is broken, we can't really say that the bulls are now ready to even make a correction. Okay, and like if you follow the same logic, you can see it broke below the previous low, bears take over, right? Broke above the previous high, bulls took over, broke below the previous low, bears took over, right, and started to make lower highs and lower lows. So I'm following the same logic. This is our last high. Until this is broken upward, we can't really say that the bulls are taking over. Meanwhile, we can still trade lower and form new highs, right? So here we go. So we can still form new lower lows and lower highs until eventually we have a break above the high and the correction would start. Anyway, let's take it step by step. As mentioned, now the bears are trying to kick in. Let's see the daily and weekly and weekly close. This is our range from H4. It's already broken here. This is our wick. So let's see if we'll have a full daily candle from daily, or it would just mean a rejection from here, but we can still trade higher, reject this area, and trade lower again. So for the bulls to take over, we need a break above this area. Okay, and now if you want, you can also draw a channel, because we have a low and a lower high. So now we are trading inside this channel, for example. So let's see if the bulls will kick in here and break break above it. YKY, hope you're doing good. Yes, I'm happy to see you here too, sir. Okay, Mihlali, right? Mihlali, hope you're doing good. I'll add your name. Okay, so the list is already getting bigger and bigger. At the end of the session, I'll select one winner by clicking on this one. Okay, and okay. Let's move forward. Let's go to GMT, because like many traders already asked me about it, so I had to add it on today's session. So as we clearly see from H4 time, because we can't really see much from daily. If you go to daily time frame, we can't really see much, just an aggressive movement upward, an aggressive movement downward, right? But like even just from this like movement upward, we can clearly see that the bulls were exhausted. right? How do we know it? When the impulse movements are getting smaller in size, right? If you compare it, you see this impulse, a flat correction, another impulse movement upward, a correction. So our first impulse, look at how steep it was, then a correction, then another steep impulse movement, but this one is smaller than this one, and then a correction before the next impulse movement upward. So now if you compare the impulse movements, here we go, look at how the impulse movements pushing higher are getting smaller in size, which give you an early alert that a potential reversal might happen, that the bulls are still in control, resulting in a higher high. However, they are not strong enough as before to push the price as before. Okay, and this was your early alert. Of course, it was confirmed after we have the break below the previous low, and now we are bearish. The bears took over. We can see it even better from H4, as you can see here. So the bears took over after breaking below this low, which we also saw from daily time frame, and starting from here, we started to see low lows and lower highs, right? So now this is our last high, as you clearly see. It was here, kept trading lower, made a new high, kept trading lower, made a new high, and so on. Let me delete these ones. Okay, so GMT is currently trading inside this floor. If you want, this is our floor, this is our ceiling. So as price approaches, which is like doing it now, approaches this area, we'll be looking for buy setups. Or if we break above this area, as you can see from the drawing here, if we break above this area, the bulls would take over again. We would have our impulse on the correction, would be looking for buy stops on lower time frames. So we want to catch the next impulse movement upward. However, we want the bulls to prove to us that they are strong enough to take over again. And like this high broken upward is not enough, because we already got a support and resistance here and round number 2. So support multiple times, broken downward, act as a resistance, broken downward, and so on. Okay, so we'll be waiting for a break above this area first, and then on the retest, we'll be looking for buy setup. You can see a very similar pattern on 8. Okay, so like if you want, here we go. Like you can see that we got a very similar scenario. Here we go, right? So this is GMT, and this is 8. Okay, and yeah, let's zoom out to the daily time frame. I can't really add much, right? We have this aggressive movement upward, aggressive movement downward. Now we are trading between these two round numbers, which is 10 has been acting as support previously, broken downward, now acting as a resistance, and our next round number 5, which price respected previously and traded higher. If you zoom into H4, as you can see here, it's very obvious that as price approaches this area, I'll be looking for buy setups, or if we break above this resistance, which we can see very clearly, multiple times act as support, broken downward, now acting as a resistance. So before I buy, I need a break above the 10 to confirm that the buyers are now strong enough, because previously we were bullish, broke below the previous low, now we are bearish, lower lows and lower highs. So until the last high is broken upward, we are still bearish, and I don't want to buy a bearish market, right? So I'm waiting for this break, and then on the retest of it, I'll be looking for buy setups. Meanwhile, of course, as price approaches the next rejection, I'll be looking for buy setups. I don't not buy blindly. I zoom into lower time frames, look for extra confirmation, and then buy on the break. Buy on the break upwards. So let me check the comments. Okay, hello Michael, hope you're doing good. Okay, GBP JPY, fantastic. Okay, we'll add it hopefully like at the end, because now I'm going over like the crypto instruments. I've done the Forex ones at the beginning, but like I won't put you down. I'll do GBP JPY at the end hopefully. Hello Michael, hope you're doing good. I'm doing fantastic. You're more than welcome. Okay. Okay, party. Let me add your name for a chance to win RHTL. What is it? We'll draw the draw hopefully at the end of the session, and we got also Tabo. Okay, fantastic. Now the list is getting bigger. Okay, Ryan, sure. Okay, let's move forward and do a couple of more examples. Okay, we've got dot here. If you zoom out to weekly time frame, we can see that just like Ethereum, Bitcoin, and so on, we are currently bearish, impulse movement, correction, impulse movement. From a long-term perspective, I'll be waiting for this. A new swing high to form here, and then we can buy on spike upward. Then the bulls will prove control. Now we have a shift in momentum if we break above this channel. Okay, meanwhile, we are bearish. We can still dive inside the lower area here before we trade higher. Of course, if we dive inside it, I'll zoom into lower time frames to catch this correction movement upward. We have a demand zone here, as we clearly see, an aggressive movement upward from it, and it's also the round number 5. If you zoom into daily time frame, I can't really add much. We previously broke below this support area, was acting as support, then a resistance, broken upward again, support, support again, broken downward, now acting as a resistance, right? So like here we go, previously around the resistance, the bears took over, and now we are still bearish. And yeah, that's basically it. As mentioned from weekly time frame, I'll be waiting for this and then a movement downward. Why? Because here is a very strong support and resistance. You can see multiple rejections from it. Let me zoom in. Here we go. Support here, support again, broken downward, resistance, broken upward, support multiple times, broken downward, and the resistance. Okay, like this is from daily. So I'll be waiting for price to break it. It would also be a break above the trend line, and so on. For now, if we dive lower, as mentioned before, I'll be looking for buy stops here to catch the next impulse movement upward. If you zoom into H4 time frame, I can't really add much. We are now bearish, trading below this trend line. That you can even extend it. We can even trade lower like this. In this case, as mentioned, I'll be buying here, right? If you dive lower, for now, let's see how it goes. We are still bearish. Maybe if we will get this and maybe a break above the previous major high, and it would be a good indication that the buyers will start the correction from now, from here. Meanwhile, we can still drop lower, as mentioned, from this before we break higher. I'll do one more example before checking the comments again. If we go to Rune 4, we can see that we are currently stuck in a big shape of like the descending triangle, right? You can even draw a horizontal line here. So this is it, right? But I didn't draw it to make the chart clean. Anyway, you've got the round number 3 and multiple rejections from this area. So it's a support, and we are looking for buy setups here. Okay, of course, unless broken downward, then a movement to the next demand zone would be expected, which is around also a very strong round number 1. Okay, so but for now, we are still here. We didn't break below this one in an aggressive manner. We are still respecting the support, still looking for buy setups. If you zoom into daily, I can't really add much. If we zoom to H4, here we go. We were bearish previously, broke above the previous high, traded higher, below the previous low, traded lower, and we are currently bearish, right? Trading inside this channel in blue. So I'll be waiting for the buyers to break above this area. Again, the last major high for now is around here, around 5, which is also a round number. So, of course, we can still break this area here, but it wouldn't be enough. We might still drop lower from it. So for extra confirmation, we want a break above the support area and above this trend line, above the previous high, and so on. So until this happens, we are bearish. We can still trade lower. If this happens, then the bulls would take over, and the movement in the upper round would be expected. Okay, let's go to like Zcash, ZEC, which is very, very similar to Rune. Here we go. We've got a very strong support area here, multiple rejections from it, resistance previously broken upward, support multiple times. That's why we are looking for buy setups here. Of course, unless it's broken downward, then it wouldn't be good at all. Then a further like movement lower would be expected. But for now, we are looking for buy setups. If we zoom into daily time frame, I can't really add much except that we are bearish, making lower lows and lower highs, and this is our last high, right? If you go to H4, here we go, we can see it even better. Let me extend this one. Here we go to make it better or stronger. We previously were bullish, broke below the previous low, traded lower. Now we are bearish, making low lows and lower highs, waiting for the bulls to take over by breaking above this area, which would also be a break above the trend line, above the previous major high, and so on. So when this happens, then the bulls would take over for the next impulse or correction movement upward to start. Let me check the comments real quick. Okay, okay, fantastic, Yatin. I'll add your name for a chance to win like one HTL package, which you can see at the bottom of the screen. So you can see the website. So you'll actually like entering a draw to win a HTL like an HTL lifetime package, including HTL, which you can see on my chart, which are the dots, right, in blue and red. And like you also get a full course, access to my groups, and so on. So let me add your name. Okay. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll take a little break, take a sip. Okay, like now I'll go over a couple more crypto instruments, like 2 or 3, like maybe 2 before, because I want to also go for like you guys requested GPJPY and AUDJPY, right? Okay, yes. But if you like to request a specific crypto instrument, you can do it now, because I'm going over the crypto instruments for now. And of course, if you like the content, please like the video to help it reach more traders and to help the Trading Nut channel. Okay, let me go over a couple more examples. Where is it? Okay, fantastic. Next, we've got sand, right? So here we go. On weekly time frame, this is a very strong demand zone, also around number 1. We can see a rejection from it here. That's why we are looking for buy setups. Of course, unless broken down, then a movement till the next rejection would be around 0.2, right? Here we go. But for now, we are approaching a very strong zone. This demand zone is still fresh. All right, like we haven't tested before, so we are looking for buy setups. This would be our next resistance or rejection. So as price rates higher, we might reject this area, which would also be the upper bound of this channel, right? So now looking for buy stops, and then here we'll be looking like for those who traded on margin, we'll be looking for sell setups until eventually we have this break above it. Then we can say that the bulls are now taking over from a long-term perspective for this bullish movement to start. For now, we are just speculating a correction from here, because we are around a demand zone. If you zoom into H4 time frame, we are currently trading inside this falling broadening wedge. The bears took over after breaking below. After breaking below this low, we traded lower and lower, started to make lower lows and lower highs. So now this is our last high. We are waiting for this to happen, and then we can buy on break upward. We'll be speculating, or like we'll be expecting this movement upward till here, which I mentioned from daily time frame is a very strong resistance that might hold the price down until it's broken upward. This is what I'm waiting for on sand. Okay, I'll do STX. If you don't have any requests, then I'll go over GPJPY and so on. Okay, hello Michael. I don't know what this means, so please let me know. Okay, YKY. I'm already following you on Instagram. I have a question: how to overcome the fear of missing out and how to avoid fake outs. Okay. Okay, like first of all, first of all, uh, what you need to do is write down on a piece of paper that I don't have to catch every trade, I don't have to trade every week, and stick it to your laptop. Okay, this is first. Second, okay, you have to have a very detailed trading plan. Okay, so for example, you know that I'm happy to cash, and like you want to make a plan about risk management. Like for example, like if I catch like 10 trades for the entire month, okay, how much like the return would be? I would be happy with it, right? And in this case, like you do calculation, and you know that for example, I only need to catch 10 trades per month. Okay, so if I miss one or two this week or today, like I don't mind because I only need to catch 10 trades. Okay, um, this is basically it. And like of course, like if you want after the session we can talk via chat, and I can show you a couple of things. Okay, let's go to STX, and then I will check the ones that you requested, ADGPY and GPGPY, because before ending the session with the draw. So on weekly time frame, on STX, we can see that we are currently around this support and resistance. It was a demand rejection from it multiple times, so it's now acting as a support. And we might still dive a little bit inside it before trading higher, but we are looking for buy stops starting from here, knowing that we can still trade lower before trading higher. If you zoom into daily time frame, we can see that we are trading currently inside this channel. We also have another one which is here, right? So we are bearish trading inside this channel in red and this channel in brown, and we might still drop lower a little bit before trading higher. Now, every bullish movement around this resistance, which has been acting before as a support and resistance multiple times, now broken down, so it's now a resistance. So for the bulls to take over here and to trade higher, they need to break multiple resistance areas. So we need to break this, and this, right? So when this happens, a break here, then we can see that now we are overall bullish from a long-term perspective, and we can expect a movement like this previously and this as well. Okay, but for now we are still trading inside this channel. Let me make it cleaner. And as price dives in, or starting from here, as mentioned, from the weekly, we can look for buy stops to catch what this impulse movement upward. However, this is a supply, a resistance, and might hold the price down until eventually we have a break above it. Then the bulls will take over. From a long-term perspective, we can look for buy setups on the retest. On every correction, we can look for buy setups. Okay, so that's basically it for STX. Also, if you zoom in, we can also see like a very similar channel to the one we saw previously. The bears took over here, we traded lower, started to make lower lows and lower highs. Here's our last major high that we need a break above for the bulls to take over and to be able to push to the next resistance area, which we saw from weekly, which is also round number 1, and this is also round number 0.5. Okay, so now it's waiting for this to happen for the bulls to take over. Let me check the chat one more time. Okay, how do you use VSA indicator? I personally don't use it. I don't know what VSA is. Okay, let me go over GPGPY and ADGPY before ending the session with a draw, because like someone requested it. Let me check where. Okay, so ADGPY and GJ Ryan. Okay, so let's do it. GBP JPY. Okay. On weekly time frame, we can see that we are currently trading inside this floor, or like what I call floor. This is our ceiling, this is our floor, right? So this area has been acting as a resistance previously. multiple rejections from it, finally broken upward, now acting as a support, right? And we got these highs, this support and resistance, and so on. So as price retested, we'll be looking for buy setups. Moreover, if you zoom into daily time frame, we can see that we've got this for overall direction. So we might still like go like this and trade higher. Anyway, let's keep it clean. From daily time frame, however, we have these lows broken down. So on the retest of it, we were looking for some setups. So long story short, we are around the resistance and the support. As price approaches the resistance, looking for sell. As approaches the support, looking for buy, until eventually the resistance is broken upward, it will become support, or the support broken downward, it will become a resistance. Okay, so that's it. This is how you know where you are in the market from higher time frames. Now we know where we are. We are currently from lower time frames in the middle of nowhere. So I'm in the middle of a resistance and support. So I don't want to look for setups here. I'm waiting for this to look for sell, or for this to look for buy. Meanwhile, we're trading inside, as you can see, a symmetrical triangle. So I can't really add much, except that if you would like to zoom into lower time frames, we've got this symmetrical triangle, and here we go. So on, if price approaches the lower area, we can look for buy stops on the lower time frames, like I don't know what, M5 and M15, and until eventually it's broken down, then we'll be looking for buy here, or it's broken upward, then the bulls will take over and we'll be looking for sell around this area. Okay, next we've got ADJPY. Let me go over it. Okay, on ADJPY, we can see that we were bullish previously and we rejected that upper band, which is also a resistance area. If you zoom out, we can see it better. It's also a supply. So price rejected this area, traded lower. If you zoom into, if you zoom into daily time frame, we can see that we previously also broke below this major low, and we tested it, and now we are looking for sell setups. So from weekly time frame, right, we are currently rejected this resistance. We are currently around the support, which is here. From daily time frame, we broke below this low here, and now we're expecting this movement. Of course, we can set it a little bit higher before trading lower. If we zoom into H4, we can see that we have like a falling. Okay, let me delete these ones to make it clean. Here we go. So we are bearish. We have this impulse correction. We are currently in this correction. We might see this impulse movement lower again, right? Or we might break above this area for the bulls to take over and trade higher. Okay, if you zoom in, for now, we're around what? Around the resistance. Support multiple times, broken downward, now acting as a resistance. That's why we are still looking for now for sell setups. Let me delete these ones, extend this one, save, zoom in. Here we go. So from H1 time frame, we can see that we are now stuck inside a range, right? And we can see that this is the last low. Okay, so like these are the last lows. I have like shape of a head and shoulders pattern, but like it's not the best looking one. Anyway, this is our last low here for the bears to take over to start the next impulse movement lower, just like previously. Sorry about that. Here, like to see this impulse, we need to break below this low to see the price going down. Okay, so in this case, if you have this break, you can enter a sell and to speculate this movement. Or meanwhile, until the bears take over by breaking below this low, we can still break it upward, break this area. In this case, this resistance would now be broken upward. It would be acting as a support area. In this case, on the retest of it, we can look for buy setups. Okay, that's basically it. Let me go down. Okay, Yasin, I already did Euro GBP, sorry. We already did it. So if you would like, when I close the session after like 5-10 minutes, you'll be able to watch the recording. Okay, so you're able like to scroll and find Euro GBP. Okay, Roger, I'll add your name. So like now I'll take like 1 minute break. Meanwhile, if you want to enter the draw to win one HTL lifetime package, which you can see the website at the bottom of like the screen, simply write your name, and I will add your name here, right? I'll add your name, and like after 1 minute, I'll go down and press on pick a random name. Okay, and like we will see who will win. Okay, so like these are the names who already applied. I'll give like 1 minute for those who like joined recently, so that to write their names to include it in the draw. Okay, I'll mute myself for 1 minute. Okay, so let's do it. This is it. Let me click on random name. Okay, so we've got these names. Let's shuffle, shuffle, shuffle again and again and again. Okay, so this is it. We've got like 15 names. Let's pick one of them. Okay, random name. Let's do it. Fantastic, Kilowa. Wow. like you are the first one to apply, right? And like you've won. Like you've won this one. Okay, feel free to contact me like on my Telegram channel on like on richtl.com, the website. Scroll down, you'll find a form, right? You can contact me there. And yeah, you basically want like access to HTL, the community, and so on. So fantastic. If you guys have any more questions, let me know in the comment section. If no question pop up for like 15-20 seconds, we will end it, and I'll see you hopefully next time. Fantastic, Kilo. I'm very happy that you won it, because like you are the first one who applied. So uh, fantastic. You're more than welcome, Yasin. YKY. I guess that, yes. Sorry, uh, Yatin. Right. Uh, Roger, you're more than welcome. Hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully I'll see you next time. Feel free to like request any instrument or like any question for next time, and I'll see you there. Best of luck, everyone. Have an amazing eve or night, and I'll see you hopefully soon. Bye bye.